Welcome back to Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. I'm your host, Eric Cicada, aka Mr. Honest, your resident Ravenclaw, broadcasting from the highest tower in Hogwarts. Today we've got one of those episodes. This is where Goblet of Fire stops feeling like a tournament story and starts feeling like something else entirely. Because across these 3 chapters, something keeps happening over and over again. The truth tries to come out and something stops it each and every time. See if you could spot the times. Something I noticed after getting through these 3 chapters, and I gotta say it's a very strong build-up section of the book. So without further ado, let's get into chapter 27, Padfoot Returns. So we open pretty light. Ron is still riding high from the second task. His storytelling is getting more and more heroic every time he tells it. It's something that Ron needed. I think we all knew that, with his jealousy, and he's been having a tough year. You got to give it to the guy. Let him have his story about being underwater and getting saved by Harry and how he was brave through it all. Honestly, it's just one of those classic moments where you can just feel Hogwarts settling back into a normal life. But underneath that, things are shifting. Harry gets a message from Sirius, and right away, this is important. Sirius isn't just checking in anymore. He's showing up. Physically. Nearby, risking being caught. That tells you everything. When they meet him in the cave, the tone immediately changes. Sirius looks rough. He's living off scraps, hiding, surviving, but mentally, he's locked in, and he's connecting the dots that no one else is. I imagine the actor from the movies when I think of Sirius. This is something that the show is going to change so much for us, and a good example of a really great performance by the actor who played Sirius Black in the movies. Forgive me for not knowing his name off the top of my head. So this is where we get one of those important lines, one of the most important lines of the chapter. If you want to know what a man's like, take a good look at how he treats his inferiors, not his equals. I mean, that's a life lesson there. It's not just about house elves. It's about Crouch. Because now we get the full story. Crouch wasn't just a ministry guy. He was on track to be the minister of magic. Powerful, respected, ruthless. And when Voldemort rose, Crouch didn't just fight back. He went extreme. Authorized unforgivable curses. Sent people to Azkaban without trial. Became just as feared as the people he was hunting. And then his own son gets caught with Death Eaters. And what does he do? He sends him to Azkaban, his own son. And that moment reframes everything, because now when you look at Crouch, you're not just seeing a strict ministry official, you're seeing someone who chose power over family, chose reputation over compassion, and may have broken something inside of himself to do it. I'm not saying that his son should have gotten special treatment or something like that, but his current behavior just feels a lot less random now. He's all over the place. And knowing what he went through and what he did and his history, which I'm assuming a lot of the adult wizard community knows about. But personally, I can't imagine being in a place where I have a son and he goes down a bad path and I throw him into the worst prison in the known world because of honor to his job. I mean, that is just dark. You'd fight for your son. You'd fight for your family. But he was dark, in a very dark place because of Voldemort. And it just goes to show how big an impact Voldemort had on different areas and sections of the wizarding community. So, I gotta mention one more thing before we move on to the next chapter. Sirius is hungry, and they bring him a giant bag of chicken legs, I think it was. And the way he's eating them throughout the whole scene, in my mind, he was munching down the whole scene. And then there was a point where it's Sirius grabbed another bite of this, and I'm like, oh yeah, he is a hungry doggy. I don't mean to call Sirius a doggy like that, but I also like the point that because he's an animagus, him wandering around Hogsmeade, it's dangerous, obviously, for him to get caught. But nobody knows but Dumbledore, Harry, Ron, and Hermione that he can transform into an animal. So he is safe in that sense. But if he keeps getting newspapers, I mean, people are going to start looking at a dog doing human things and whose dog is this? So it makes you a little more concerned for Sirius, just a bit. Let's move into Chapter 28, The Madness of Mr. Crouch. This chapter starts almost deceptively normal. They go to the kitchens, and Dobby's there, and Winky. And Winky is not okay. But Dobby is, because Harry, Ron, and Hermione brought him a bunch of socks for the help he gave Harry in the second task. Winky's drinking, spiraling, talking about secrets she can't reveal. And this is one of those moments where the book is screaming something at you without saying it directly. Because she says she was trusted with something important, something secret, and then shuts down. That's not throwaway dialogue. That's a locked door. Then everything escalates. We get to learn what the third and final task will be about. It's going to be a maze on the Quidditch field, and the trophy will be in the center of the maze. First person who gets in and gets the trophy wins. It's as simple as that. There's going to be beasts provided by Hagrid, which Harry knows could be anything at this point. Hagrid brings in some pretty treacherous things just even in his class. So for the tournament, I wonder, and so does he, what has Hagrid got up his sleeve for this one? So on their way back from learning about the third and final task, Harry goes with Crumb into the forest. And what starts as a simple conversation turns into one of the most unsettling moments so far. Because Crouch appears. And the way he's written here, it's not just like he's acting weird. It's just disturbing. He's talking to people who aren't there. He's switching past and present, reliving moments from years ago. He's not just confused. He is broken. And then through all of that chaos, pieces come out. My fault. My son. Bertha Jorkins. The Dark Lord. Stronger. I mean, come on. He's trying to say something important, something urgent. And Harry almost gets him to Dumbledore. Almost. But then he's gone. Crumb is unconscious, and the one person who had answers disappears. I find it very intriguing what's happening with Crouch right now in terms of how the heck is he in this state, walking out of the Forbidden Forest at this random point of the night. Who put him there is the real question. And they do say, right kind of towards the end of the chapter, that someone might have been right there in the forest while they were talking to Crouch and trying to figure out what he had going on. There were moments where he was grabbing onto Harry and not letting go. It was really, really intense for Harry. And even Crumb. I mean, Crumb was kind of like thrown off by being the guy that had to watch him. And if I'm being fully honest, I was too. I mean, this guy is off his rocker, and he's supposed to be a ministry official. He's supposed to be a bigger part of the tournaments, and he's just been falling off. And that's not for no reason, is all I can say and all I can imagine. Maybe he's just feeling the guilt of how he was during the time period of Voldemort. Maybe he has, I'm speculating honestly, maybe he has information about Voldemort or the Death Eaters or something. Maybe there's somebody in that forest, just like Mad-Eye Moody pointed out. And Dumbledore agreed. I assumed a natural nod from the bearded wizard. Somebody's doing something to Crouch, and I don't know why, but it seems like they wanted him to be discovered this way. It's almost like they were playing a game with Harry. And this is where the theme locks in. Every time the truth gets close, something intervenes. And that brings us right into Chapter 29, The Dream. Now we slow down, because this chapter shifts from mystery to something much darker. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are trying to make sense of everything, but nothing lines up. Crouch shouldn't be able to disappear. Crumb shouldn't have been attacked that way, and the story doesn't hold together. And Hermione mentions a million times that people and wizards can't apparate on the grounds of Hogwarts, which is a good thing to know, because that theory keeps popping up, and she has to remind Ron and Harry a couple times that's not possible. But it seems like the most reasonable explanation. So is there a back door to doing it? Is there a secret cheat code to apparate in and out of Hogwarts? Or is it that the Forbidden Forest does hold many secrets still, and whatever or whoever brought Mr. Crouch there, well, he had intentions. And then Harry falls asleep in divination. And this is not just a dream. He is there. He's watching. Voldemort is in the room. Wormtail is on the ground. Nagini, this giant snake, is there. And Voldemort says, someone is dead. A mistake has been corrected. And then he mentions Harry by name. And then the curse happens. The pain, the connection. Harry isn't imagining this. He's connected to it. And this is the moment the book stops playing around. Because Voldemort isn't a memory anymore. He's active. He's planning. He's watching. And he plans to kill Harry. He almost blatantly actually just says that. Nagini will get to eat Harry. He didn't get to eat he's hungry. Nagini's hungry. I don't know if Nagini is a boy or a girl's name, but I'm sure it doesn't really matter. Maybe for whatever reason we'll find that out. This is the farthest from funny that we can get. It's actually a sign of doom. And there's so much going on in the story that it's kind of easy to overlook this short chapter where Harry, we know personally, is having visions of what's happening. And we know this from the very first chapter of the book because he saw what we saw happening in a dream. And it wasn't just a made-up dream. Bertha Jorkins was mentioned about being killed, and then he hears the mystery of Bertha being missing. So he couldn't speak up to that because how is he going to bring up, well, I heard in a dream Voldemort's back and apparently they killed Bertha with Wormtail. He can't do that. So Harry has that information. We have that information. And we know that this is actually Voldemort and he's up to no good. And that's where we leave it. Crouch is gone. The answers are gone with him. And Harry's not just dealing with the tournament anymore. The maze is something that he has to navigate metaphorically and in the third task. He's in a maze of questions. And I'm very interested in seeing how the rest of this all plays out. He's being pulled into something much bigger because now we know the threat isn't coming, it's already here. And the scariest part, every time someone gets close to the truth, they disappear. Thank you for listening to Magic Muggle, a Harry Potter after show. I would love for you to join our Discord server. It's linked in the notes of this show. We can have conversations about the books, the show, anything your heart desires. There's also a section for Marvel, Maniac, and MCU after show, my other podcast there. And yeah, it's just a nice hub where we can all connect. And I have to say, looking at the numbers for these recent episodes, I know you're out there. I see you, and I thank you for listening genuinely from the bottom of my heart. Something huge that you can do for this show to help it, and it's completely free, is to give it a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or even wherever you listen to your podcast. It goes even further if you write a review. That would be much appreciated. This has been Eric Cicada, aka Mr. Honest. We will be back next week with even more craziness with the Pensieve and the third task. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Stay tuned. And until then, wands down, hearts full.